Hi, it's Lynn, your adulting coach. At the 2020 TEFOS, Leslie Josel presented on procrastination. She suggested that procrastination is the stepsister to executive function. In other words, what I think she's saying is that when our executive function skills are challenged, we drop into procrastination, and that makes perfect sense. She suggests that procrastination is affected by these three factors: choice and control, skill, mood, and emotion. And we recognize that these are the factors that we can impact. So, when our child was young, the choice and control was ours. We told them what to do and when to do it. As they moved through high school, some of them pushed back and we negotiated more of the parameters. Now that they're out of high school, it's our job to push the choice and control away from us and onto them. Because the more often they make the choice and control their own behavior, the more likely they are to learn the lessons that life will teach us all, and they will stick. In terms of skill, okay, maybe that's something that we need to identify whether or not they have the skills and if there's anything we can do to help. Still, on that one, we need to recognize what part we can and what part we cannot control. And finally, the mood and emotion is totally up to our autistic graduates. Yet there is a way that we can show up that will help them notice the thoughts, the situation, and the thoughts and emotion combination that are affecting whether or not they're getting the work done that they need to do so that they get the result that they want in their life, that they create the life that they want. Her number one suggestion is for us to talk less and ask more. And this is the hardest lesson I had to learn. It really requires us to zip our lip and listen more and stop telling our kids what they have to do, especially what they have to do to make us feel better, because that's not their responsibility. It really is our responsibility to maintain our own thoughts and emotions and actions so that they inspire the kinds of behaviors that we want. Now, they're not going to inspire them every time, but at least we'll know when we show up with the kinds of thoughts, emotions, and actions that we've intentionally decided we want to exhibit on purpose, then we'll know that we're doing the best that we can. And we help them become the problem solver. That's their role now. That's how they get choice and control. We need them to build their skills through practice while they're under our roof and know that it's not going to work out every time. But at least if they do the doing, they're going to be doing the learning. So if they don't know how to do something, they're not going to do it. So perhaps we need to set them up in situations where they build those skills. But it's always best if they pick it. We know this. And mood and emotion, if they're not in the mood to do things, they're not going to do it. But here's what we find that they do is they try something else to feel better and often escape into pleasures that others inspire them to stay in. That's their economic model. The more our kids stay in those pleasures, the more money they're going to make. And it's really helpful when we help them notice that that's what's happening. Because at the end, if they really pay attention to how they feel inside of their body after 6 hours on screens, they're going to notice that they feel empty and that they just feel disconnected. That means that they don't have to take away screens, but to intentionally limit the time that they spend to a predetermined time. Let's say 3 hours a day. That's more than enough time to make things work for them. And the barriers to entry at this point are, we have to reduce those barriers to entry. And that's to doing the job that they need to do. We need to find out, is it that they don't understand what needs to be done next? Are there too many steps? Are there too many pieces of instruction that make it too complicated? Is there just too much work and we need to break it down into pieces so they can do one at a time? Is there just not a good enough idea for them about how much time it's going to take, so that they, project it's going to take hours when, and they just don't have the energy spoons for that at this time? It's really important for us to break things down, to avoid procrastinating, to help them avoid their own procrastination. One of the things she suggests is that we need to help them externalize time in order to manage it. She suggests that an analog clock is necessary. Now, I know she even argues that it should be in every room they spend time in, including the bathroom. We haven't done that yet, but I'm wondering if that's something we should try, because it's hard for our kids to see time move with a digital clock. Time is three-dimensional. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, a past, and a future. And when they're working on something, it's important that they can see the clock progress so that they recognize how much time is left. There's pausing, picturing, and pacing. I hadn't even thought about that. So that was really helpful for Leslie to put that out there. Picturing being done and allowing themselves to re-energize and pace themselves to the end. These are all concepts that she covers in her TEFOS presentation that I found really helpful. In fact, this one, using a music playlist that they can play, so that they create, so that they can determine, we're on that song now, we have this much time left. That's a genius idea for our kids who really enjoy music as a motivator and as a way to focus their brain. And then, of course, we need to follow up and see how things went. Because the question to ask for them is the strategy the one that works for you? So she reminds us, of course, that telling is not teaching and listening is not learning. It's a great quote by J.D. Gaddis that really reminds us that the more we tell, the more we force listening, there's not as much action and learning. And that's why we really want to make sure that we move from that telling, autocratic approach more into the experimenting and learning together approach. So she suggests too that it's useful to think about the information that we present to our kids in terms of whether or not it's a shelf size or a cubby size. And she argues that a cubby size allows our young adults to hear information better. It's better if only one person is talking to them at a time. It's just that much easier for them. Sorry, my puppy is making loud noises. It's just that much easier for them to process, remember information, and act on it. If multiple people are speaking to them at once, they're more likely to be overwhelmed and the message will be lost. So fewer people in the room often is helpful. And continue to say, okay, what's your plan? Or if you don't want to ask a question, tell me about your plan is another option. And then, of course, we love to use movement because movement helps the brain assimilate information. It helps with distractibility. The more we move, the more that our brains and bodies, muscles create the hormones that help us feel calm and stay the course and be focused. So also working in different locations can help us. Like if we do a bit of it when we're down in our lower level in the basement, if we do a little bit of it in our room, if we do some of it outside, sometimes that helps our kids complete tasks that are tedious, like filling out paperwork. The bottom line is that we really need to tap into how our child thinks and understands, and that applies to our graduates too. She argues that a lot of us think that our graduates are lazy. She says your child is not lazy. I believe that your child is having a hard time sustaining effort, she says. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, she suggests that they're probably overwhelmed, and that calling them lazy is wrong. In fact, we shouldn't say those two words, lazy or stupid, because we need to turn those judgments into compassion. Our graduates' brains will grow, and these executive functions will get better over time. The fact that they're lagging their peers is just because of the autistic brain that they inherited from the genetic lottery that they got. And that our relationship will get better over time. And she really urges us to pick relationships over routines so that we raise problem solvers who can manage and be just perfectly fine when we're no longer around. So Leslie is one of more than 20 presenters at the TEFOS 2023 conference. Her picture is the one right below the microphone, the brown hair, big smile person right there. And I highly recommend 2023 TEFOS and any of the others, because these people that Seth has invited, and from the looks of this group this year, it's really his favorite presenters. He's done this now 5 years, and we can learn so much from these practitioners who are full-time in the trenches, trying to help kids, trying to help alternative learners manage their thoughts, their feelings, and their actions so that they can create a life that works for them. And I'd love for you, I just encourage you strongly to join the TEFOS program. The link's in the email that I sent or in the notes below. Bye for now.